Mic check 1 2. So I finally got the gaming shelf kind of in order. I was able to fit a lot of pretty much all the retro games that I have for the most part onto the shelf. But I did have to make some compromises. I've got DS games like literally all over the place. I've got PlayStation 1 games kind of creeping here and there throughout the shelf. The majority of the PlayStation 1 stuff is up here, of course. Got some PlayStation 1 games, but I just kind of had to find room and fit the games in where I could. I did also have to remove 15 games from the shelf. So 8 of them were PlayStation 2 games, and 8 of them were a few Xbox 360 games. So I'll let you guys look at the shelf, and if you guys can if you can tell which games were removed, that'll be pretty cool. I don't know, maybe I'll give something to the person who can find the 8 games or 15 games rather that are missing. But all that aside, this Pokemon thing, and I know I'm about 2 weeks late on this, but this Pokemon thing is crazy. It seems like every few years, people are looking for some type of get rich quick scheme. People are looking for something that they can buy low and sell high. And in their mind, I guess, they think that if they can buy low a certain amount of times and sell high a certain amount of times, that they'll ultimately be, I don't know, rich, wealthy, they won't have to work. I don't know what the end game is, but I recently saw that a a Cheeto which is basically a Cheeto, like the Cheeto like chips that you would eat, like the cheese doodle chips that you would eat. Um, there is a Cheeto that was released in the shape of an actual Charizard. And this Cheetozard recently sold at Golden Auctions, which I'm actually shocked because Golden Auctions, there's actual Netflix series on Golden Auctions. They tend to do like a lot of sports memorabilia. I mean, they'll auction anything, honestly. But when I watched their show that they had on Netflix, a lot of what they were dealing with, like their heavier hitters, were like legit collector's items, like Michael Jordan, authentic signed jerseys, football paraphernalia. They would have like Mickey Mantle baseballs that were signed, like a lot of really like highly collectible stuff from the 60s, the 90s, the 80s, stuff like that. So I saw that they recently sold on their auction this Cheetozard for $88,000, almost $90,000 for this Cheetozard thing. And I'm seeing videos of people going to their local supermarket and buying hundreds of bags of Cheetos, I guess in hopes to find the next Cheetozard. And I don't know what they think that they're going to be able to sell it for another 80, 90,000. I really honestly don't know what the end game is, but it sort of reminds me of video games in a way. Now, obviously video games is a lot different because video games actually have a utility. You can play them. You can play them and they can provide you with hours of enjoyment through playing them. So while yes, you can have them on your shelf and you can display them on your shelf, you can still actually take them out and play them. And I think that's why video games are so unique, because they work great for collectors as well as gamers. Whether you're a person who just likes to collect video games and have them displayed, this will work for you. If you're a person who likes to play the games, well, the more games you have, the more games you can play, and that works for you. I typically try not to have more than 1,000 games in my collection at one time. That's just me personally, but I think that's the unique thing about it. But I think even with video games, right? Video games is not some type of get rich quick thing. You know what I mean? Like there's no get rich quick, or there's not enough reselling in the world in 2025 that's going to buy you a house. I mean, it's really just not. I mean, I'm sure there are people out there that resell and they do a really good job of reselling, but it takes the hustle of a drug dealer like to be able to sell enough retro games to make an actual living. Like legit, you have to be like the Nino Brown of reselling to really be able to make a financial dent and do something significant. And as much as people like to cap on dudes like Chase After the Right Price and Phoenix Resale, those dudes are operating at the Nino Brown level, really, when it comes to reselling. You know what I'm saying? That's the level that they're on. They eat, sleep, and breathe reselling video games. Their entire universe revolves around reselling video games. Their entire network structure, their friends, their family, their social circles, it all revolves around reselling video games. It's what they're known for, it's what everyone knows them for, and that is their thing. And they do it full time. And even then, as great as I think they make it look and seem on YouTube, I don't even think those guys, they're not making millions. Like every time Phoenix Resale comes on and he says like, yeah, this year we sold like $3.5 million worth of video games. Yeah, that's what the sales gross was. That's not what his net was. He didn't take home $3 million. I mean, after all of his expenses are paid and stuff, he's probably making like a six-figure salary doing that. I mean, at best, he's making a six-figure salary. And mind you, he has to pay his own taxes. He has to pay his own social security. He has to pay his own medical, unless he's covered under his wife or a family member or something like that. But even if he grosses 120 grand, you got to take the taxes out of that. You know what I mean? You got to, all of that has to come out of that, which means he's probably netting, after all is said and done, somewhere in the maybe mid to high five figures, if that. Sorry, did I say five figures? Yeah, the mid to high five figures is probably where he's at. So, depending on where you live in the country, that might not even cut it. That might not even make it. That might not even qualify you for an apartment in a city like New York or Chicago or LA. So, I'm not saying all this to hate on resellers or anything like that, but I'm just saying it for anyone who's buying this reselling Kool-Aid, or like who looks at things like a Cheeto Zard and says, man, if I could just get my hands on 3 Cheeto Zards, I'll be set for life. You won't be set for life. You know what I mean? I get a lot of positive comments on this gaming shelf and stuff like that, but this gaming shelf doesn't mean crap. If I sold all these games today, I would still have to get up and go to work, because it still wouldn't be enough to, like, you're not going to be set for life off video games. And like I said before, like the most professional resellers that you could think of, the resellers with the best systems and the most connects and the greatest videos, it's an ecosystem that they create for themselves. The reselling makes great content, which they then post on YouTube, which helps to drive more revenue. I wouldn't be shocked if most resellers make just as much money from YouTube revenue and sponsorships and affiliate links and stuff like that. They probably make more off of the YouTube side than they do off of the reselling side. And that's just being honest. The reselling is just content for the channel, you know what I mean? But I don't know many resellers that are just crushing it. And I could be dead wrong, because every time I make a video like this, somebody comes in my comments and they're like, oh no, Y2K, listen, I'm out here in the middle of nowhere selling, $5,000 worth of video games a week. Well, that's great. If that's you, then you've cracked the code, and God bless you. But folks, get a job. Get a job and keep your job, right? Get a job and go to work. None of this stuff is going to make you enough money to live a real productive life, raise a family, take vacation, retire. It's not going to work. Now, the only exception that I would say to this is if you really, really love it. Like if you love reselling, if you love video games, if you love buying and reselling video games, if it's a passion of yours, if it gets your juices flowing, if it energizes you and that's your lifelong passion, and when you were a kid you said, when I grow up I want to resell Nintendo games, go for it. don't have Y2K shoot down your dreams. But for most of us who live in reality, right? For most of us who don't have the reality stone and we're just subject to the natural law of things, go get a job, go and work, and stop buying thousands of bags of Cheetos, hoping you'll be able to sell a Cheeto-zard. That's my little rant for the evening. It's the Y2K Collector. Let me know what you think about that. Would you pay $80,000 for $90,000 for a Cheeto-zard? Let me know down in the comments below. I'll catch you in the next video. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.